Canadian novelist Joe Walton coined the phrase the Tiffany Problem to refer to an issue in fiction writing about historical accuracy. You see, the name Tiffany was incredibly popular for girls in the 1980s. I'm guessing a bunch of parents in the 60s and 70s fell in love with the Audrey Hepburn movie Breakfast at Tiffany's and then named their daughters that. We've got famous Tiffany's, right? Tiffany Haddish, Tiffany Amber Thiessen, the one named teen pop star Tiffany. If you're a Gen Xer or older millennial, I'm pretty sure you grew up with multiple Tiffany's. And thanks to 80s and 90s teen movies, the name Tiffany got associated with a cheerleader or Valley girl type archetype. Tiffany is a very contemporary name, at least for that generation. But the name Tiffany goes back to the 16th century. It's a really old name. And if you're a writer, you want a 16th female. And if you're a writer and you want a 16th century female character, you absolutely could name her Tiffany and it would be historically accurate. This is where the Tiffany problem comes in because you can't actually name your fictional 16th century woman Tiffany because it would feel historically inaccurate. We all have too many associations with Tiffany as a modern name and wouldn't really be able to take seriously a 500-year-old character named Tiffany. I mean, why don't you just throw in a Michaela or a Kylie while you're at it? I bring this up because we watched the 1988 Goo Fest Hellbound, Hellraiser II this week, and there's a character named Tiffany. This, of course, made me think of Joe Walton's Tiffany Problem. And of course, in Hellraiser II, the name Tiffany is appropriately assigned to a contemporary character. No issue there. The Tiffany Problem, though, isn't just about the name Tiffany. It's about authenticity in fiction writing. Tiffany's name in Hellraiser 2 is authentic as fuck. Good work. But is any of the rest of the movie authentic? In the Tiffany Problem, just replace Tiffany with, say, I don't know, the ability to rise again from the dead because someone fed you blood through a mattress. Is that scientifically accurate? Absolutely not. Is it authentic to the logic of the film? Sure. The Tiffany Problem is really a metaphor. You might even call it an exercise for thinking about accuracy versus authenticity. The real Tiffany problem in Hellraiser 2 is not Tiffany the character, it's how authentic, even in the twisted logic of the universe, is wearing someone else's skin in a convincing fashion. Because, whew, I have some notes. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
I'm guessing I know the answer to this, but let me ask it. Did you know any other Cecils growing up?
Well, my father
Oh, of course, yes, of course. You were
and
Cecil
and
the
uh
Three.
and my grandfather,
Uh-huh.
but no, I was
No.
like at least 25, maybe even older before I met another Cecil. And
Yeah.
what was weird was that I kept almost meeting other Cecils. So it became this kind of like weird doppelganger. Like if you meet your doppelganger, you're going to die that day. So like literally I would like enter a room and someone would say, "Oh, Cecil just left the room."
Weird.
For like years. That would keep happening. And then one day I was at like a truck stop in Southern Illinois or somewhere out in the Great Plains of America. And I see a gas station attendant with the name Cecil. And I was like, oh, that's my name. And he was unimpressed. He did not care that his name was my name too.
What would you say was like when you were growing up, when you were in school? Like what was the name everyone it seemed to have? Like, do you remember? Like, was there a name? Like, was
Man.
everybody Jennifer or?
A lot of Jennifers, a lot of Chris's, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Brad's, a lot of Chad's. I
Brad,
did know a
Chad,
few. I
and
did
Corey are
Brad,
such
Chad, and
80s boys'
Corey. I knew
names.
quite a bit of those. Um, Greg's, David's, the classics.
Greg.
I'm trying to think of some of the female names. I did know a few Tiffany's. I didn't know any Kirsty's because you want to talk about 80s names. Kirsty.
Kirsty
We don't
is
really get too many Kirstys these days.
no, we really don't. We get I guess there's Kirsten versus Kristen and Kirsty
Yeah.
versus Christy. Oh,
Christy,
that's
Kirsty.
interesting. Yeah. I just remember a moment in high school when I went out with a group of friends and there were five of us and we all went out to eat and hang out together. And the five of us were named Jeff, 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 Heather, and Heather.
Oh, yes.
And that was our group for the evening. And it was a very special night of common 80s names to be had.
Jeff. No, not you. Other
Yeah.
Jeff.
No,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Jeff, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
Jeffy
So I
Jeff.
Up until college, I always went by Jeff. And so when I hit college, it was right after that moment, my senior year in high school with the Jeff, Heather. People are like, do you go by Jeff or Jeffrey? Jeffrey, please.
All the
Call me
time,
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Forever, Jeffrey.
Okay, so we stuck around in the 1980s, in the late
Uh-huh.
80s, sort of also known as the mid 80s. The 80s will continue on until 1993 or so. But we get Hellraiser 2, Hellbound Hellraiser 2. And I didn't really know what to expect out of this film at all, other than gloopy gloppiness.
Yeah.
And I certainly got that.
Yes, yes, you did.
It
This, oh my goodness.
it's very funny. This movie has a really complicated plot. Like the first two movies,
Yeah.
like not plot. Plot's not the right word. Um, Set of rules, machinations,
Oh yeah.
consequences for opening the box, closing the box,
Hmm.
what happens to your body when you go into the place, what is hell, what is normal life, et cetera, et cetera. Who are the gods?
Yeah.
Or is it hell? Is it whatever? If you die in hell, do you die in real? I don't know. There's a lot of things to understand. And man, a full like 6 minutes of this movie is just let me recap movie one
Oh
for you.
yeah. Just in case you didn't know, here's what happened last time on Hellraiser. A whole bunch of people explode.
I have to tell you, I really appreciated that because I realized in this very opening flashback, like, oh shit, they're going to cover movie one.
Yeah,
And I don't remember it super well. And then once
sure.
she goes into the telling the psychiatrist everything that happened for 6 minutes, I really appreciated that. And I remembered when we did the Friday the 13th movies, those recaps tired me out so much because I'm like, there's nothing to get about Friday the
Yeah,
13th. We get it. Jason and mommy. That's all I
yeah.
know.
Madman on the loose or
Yeah.
Mad Lady on the loose.
Mhm.
Now, Jeffrey, I have a question. Do you like or prefer or have a thoughts or opinion on, you know, movie one comes out, movie two picks up right where movie one left off? Halloween is another famous example.
Yeah.
Or do you like where they're like, okay, we're going to go in a totally different direction, or it's maybe some of the same characters, but it's 10 years later kind of thing?
Out of context, the answer to that question is I like it when they just try a totally new thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I do appreciate that there's a continuation of a character's story.
Oh,
I
for
haven't
sure.
seen Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but I liked that when we covered part one and part three for this show, part three picks up with Nancy and her aftermath, and then we have a whole new set of characters
Yeah.
that her backstory affects what's happening to them, et cetera, et cetera. I really like that because it just says what's the best story to tell in the world. I think oftentimes it feels lazy, especially in prequel storytelling, that we
Sure.
have to get why somebody became a certain way.
Uh-huh. The classic origin story.
Yeah.
They're like, how did they become this monster slash hero slash side piece character?
Joseph, our friend Joseph Fink, reminded me of an old tweet the other day. I wish I could remember the person who posted it, but several years ago, somebody posted a very funny tweet about surfing Dracula, and he
Okay.
said if there was an old show called Surfing Dracula in the 1960s and 70s, it would have been about a really fun Dracula that surfs and solves crimes and does cool stuff and gets into hijinks. And then if you made it today, we would have to go into the backstory of how he got his surfboard.
Oh yeah. Like how did he learn how to surf? He would have to have
Yeah.
some sort of surfing master that taught him everything he knows.
Yeah.
Surf
So,
Dracula PI.
yes, how did he become a Dracula? How did he learn how to surf?
Yeah,
Yeah. What's it like surfing at night? I don't know.
probably really
I
lovely.
so as much as I'm probably going to sound like I'm shitting on the plot mechanics of this movie, because there's a lot to be desired in terms of filling in the blanks or having consistent rules or authenticity, as it were.
Yeah,
I love a movie like this, though. I'm like, if you're going to make this movie, it feels like this is how you make it.
yeah.
It's fun as shit, and it
Crazy,
opens. Yeah,
crazy topsy turvy world. Let's get
yeah.
topsy turvy.
Let's just be gross as fuck. And this movie is super gross.
Oh yeah.
We open right away with the voiceover of like, "What's your pleasure, sir?" which is the first line of the first movie.
Yeah.
And then we see a man chained up by his face skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "Jesus wept while laughing." And then his whole face and body get just yanked apart into a big explosion.
Sploop.
That's going to be the description of this episode. Sploop.
Sploop.
Uh, and then, okay, so Kirsty Cotton was our heroine from movie one,
Yes. Snow White.
Snow White, and she had got all the Cenobites in episode one, movie one, to
Yeah.
blow up and go back to hell because
Goodbye.
she solved the puzzle box and
Yeah.
closed it, and they all zip zap zopped back to from
And
whence they came.
she gave them her Uncle Frank, who was Jesus wept, wearing her father's body.
Uh-huh.
Classic conundrum of family dynamics that
Uh-huh.
happens on the regular.
We
But she
made so
tricked
much
them. She tricked them.
she tricked them.
Or just ran out the front door.
Yeah,
However you
right.
want to look at it.
I mean, to be fair to her, they tricked her because, they
Yeah.
just said, "Bring us Frank," and she did. And then they were like, "And you too." I'm like, no, that
And you
wasn't
know
the
what? You're cool too.
This is why y'all have to get an agent. Once you start dealing with any kind of contractual stuff, you
Oh
definitely
yeah.
need an agent. Also, to note that the director of this movie is Tony Randall, Randel, not the actor.
Okay.
I don't know if this name rings a bell. It did not for me until I looked it up. But we have watched one of his movies before on this show, and that movie
Oh.
was Ticks.
Oh wow. Taking it back to like episode 5 or something.
Yeah, it was an early episode with Sarah Marshall was our
Dicks.
guest on that show. Yeah,
Dicks.
Ticks. I think Ticks was like 1990 or something, 91. So
Yeah, I
he
remember
did this
feeling
first.
pretty solid 90s.
Hmm.
Versus this feels so solidly 80s. I actually looked up this movie came out the same year as Beetlejuice.
Hmm.
And I wanted to know because after watching this film, there's a lot of shared DNA between this movie and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Maybe
Yeah.
because they also have like sort of institutional settings and brunette heroines doing their 80s brunette heroine thing.
Hmm.
But I was like, this movie has like, did they crib off of Beetlejuice or did Tim Burton crib off of them? But they kind of came out at the same time.
I thought that too, and I didn't even think to look up the years they came out. But you're right. Like even like the kind of claymation snake worm things.
Like we've got some claymation sandworms.
Hmm.
It's also the way like when the universe is shifting into hell portal, it's like the way the light kind of moves through the walls, or it like just reminded me a lot of the like scenery opening where there shouldn't be a scenery opening and now there's a gateway or a portal. It was just very Beetlejuice to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's so funny, like being 35 years removed from the context of this all, that of the culture at the time and the
Yeah.
movie going, whatever was happening. It feels like you probably had artists that were all being influenced by similar visual effects that
Oh, for sure.
of stuff that's not a blockbuster. you
Yeah.
know, we just don't have in our cultural libraries anymore.
Yeah. Mostly it was the design of Dr. Chenard's super 80s minimalist living room
Oh yeah,
that I was like, well, this is just the Dietz's post
right.
renovation house, you know?
Yeah, he even kind of has like the even in the scene in Beetlejuice when he turns into the giant carnival machine
Yeah.
thing with the
Yeah.
two
We have
hammers.
Creepy Carnival.
Yeah, creepy carnival look and everything. No, that's such a it's very true. There is some shared DNA. Whereas Beetlejuice I find super approachable for the horror verse. Like it
Sure.
is intro to
Uh-huh.
horror
Uh-huh.
light. And this one is like, no, fuck you. We're going all
No.
in.
No. You want to see some people exploding or I don't know, just all sorts of terrible things.
You want to see a man try to get thousands of maggots off of his chest with a straight razor? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And you're going to watch it for a while too.
You are. Yeah, we paid a lot of money for these SFX. We're gonna
Yes.
use them.
Yes.
Okay, so speaking of prequels, we then, after our title sequence, we go back to 1920s India.
Oh, I love this.
And this is a British military officer. I had to look up his name. Elliot Spencer is the name of the character. And he is alone in his barracks and he is playing with a puzzle box and he
Uh-oh.
manages to solve it. These puzzle boxes, it looks like all you have to do is run your thumb over the lines in order and they solve
Uh-huh.
themselves.
It's yes. It's also vaguely sexual. Like it's
Uh-huh.
also like it's sort of a caress. Like it's
Yeah.
very it's just like run your thumb along the areola of this puzzle box.
Mm-hmm.
Titillate the puzzle box and it will open for you.
It's very true. And it makes sense given how sexual these stories are
Yeah.
and just hedonistic,
Yeah.
sensual, sexual. Even
I mean,
the Hellbound Heart, the original novella by Clive Barker, definitely focuses in on that sort of sensuality.
I mean, I always think about Clive Barker being sensual Stephen King,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. He is Sex Dungeon Stephen King. He
Yeah.
totally is. Yeah. Well, he opens it up.
Oh, look.
Hooks come
Yep.
out of the darkness and grab his skin, and they start carving. Something starts carving lines in his head into a grid, and then they start hammering nails into his head, and then pan out. He's Pinhead. This was his origin
Oh,
story.
origin story. I also love that there's like weird little tentacles doing all this manual labor, and these
Uh
tentacles do not look like they were made to handle like little nails or pins.
huh. No.
Not really for the fine work, these gloopy, gloppy tentacles. But you know
Uh-uh.
what? They're getting the job done.
They did it. They did better than I do. There's a good chance if I'm hanging a picture, that nail is falling at least once
Oh, yeah,
in the
absolutely.
process.
Behind the couch, never to be
Uh-huh.
found again.
He says something here, Pinhead says the suffering, the sweet suffering, which just feels like a kind of a throwaway. Of course, he says that. But it is interesting because Dr. Chenard later, when he has his transformation, kind of immediately sort of accepts the pleasure and pain of Cenobite Land.
Yeah,
And I think that's really interesting because they're going to make a, I don't know if strong is a word to describe it, but they're going to make a choice later to remind people of their humanity that live
oh yeah,
in hellscape. And so this suffering, the sweet suffering line, really sort of emphasizes how quickly your mind turns toward the suffering side of things.
sure. Yeah.
And so I think that's, I don't know, I just think that's an interesting setup. But present day, Kirsty is in a psych hospital
Hmm.
being interviewed by Detective Ronson, whose character kind of goes nowhere.
This whose character goes nowhere. He's an American in. Listen, I'm pretty sure this last movie took place in London without, except for Dr. Chenard, nary a British accent in sight.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, how did they get this Chicago PD detective over to the Chenard Institute?
Now, wait, I remember having this question about where the first movie takes place. Because yeah, I mean the novel, I remember reading the novella and it takes it's English, Clive
Okay.
Barker's
Yeah.
English. Yeah, because Julia is English, the
Yes.
stepmom,
Yeah.
but dad was not. So did they
Yeah.
move to America? Hopefully that's the
I
case
thought they
because
moved. I thought they moved to London
I
because
think
I'm
you
pretty
might be
sure there's
right.
like, like a lot of exterior shots around London. Anyway, in Hellraiser 2, zero fucks given as to location.
No, no.
Not only are there zero fucks given as to location, zero fucks given to characters from the previous movie. When Kirsty's like, my boyfriend, you're like, oh yeah, he made it out okay. We let him go a few hours ago. You let him go? What? From the
You're
murder? From the
investigating a
demon murder
murder.
house? You just, no? You just interviewed him. You're like, you know what? You saw some demons, people chained up, bodies, mattress. No, you're good. Passport stamped. There you go.
I collect that too because I immediately thought, wait, why did he get to tell the story about magical fairyland evil
Yeah,
demon people, and they're like, all right, you can go. And then this girl, you're like, no, you stay here. You're
you are
crazy.
involuntary. Yeah, you are in a psych ward. Huh?
That was
Man,
the
they didn't even
most
let her
we didn't
shower
no.
because she
Yeah,
is
she's
she is like
grimy.
the yeah, like the dust and blood is fresh on her. I was like, at least give this poor girl a shower or a change of clothes. No, they didn't even give her a change of clothes. What is happening here?
Unbelievable. And we cut to like a shot of this other mustachioed Chicago cop in London going through their house, and he finds,
Chicago, the famous suburb of London.
yeah, yeah, London, the Windy City.
Yes.
We cut to this other cop who is at the house finding one. He finds a wicker basket with a rotting corpse covered in
Uh-huh.
maggots.
Blech.
A rotted dusty skeleton corpse collapses on him. There is,
Surprise skeleton in a closet. As long as there have been horror movies, there have always been a body precariously put inside a wardrobe that will fall out on top of a character at the last second.
and my favorite is that they find a mattress with chains attached to it, and it
Uh-huh.
is, Cecil, it is not just soaked in blood. Like that's like saying that's like saying that I have some water on the sponge, right? Like this
Sure.
whole
I was gonna
thing
say
is
it's like the green and yellow sponge that your mama keeps by the sink.
uh-huh is like, yeah, if you lay on this mattress, blood is flying everywhere.
Ugh. Squish. You
And
need to put a furniture pad underneath that for
yes,
sure.
you definitely do.
Because it's slippery. That is a slipping hazard.
Um, Listen, we don't have a sponsorship on this show at all, but might I recommend Casper? I've had a Casper mattress before. It
Casper
is
mattresses.
rock solid. That's a free plug for them. And I'm not saying you even have to go with Casper. I mean, there's Serta mattresses and
Yeah.
Sealy There's some great mattresses out there. This is not one of them.
I just want to know which of the mattress companies will absorb the most amount of blood. Casper?
I
Can we do some tests? Like when they do they're like with the blue liquid and they're like, we've squeezed this blue liquid onto your
oh my
onto your
God.
pad. Now we wring
Unbelievable.
it out.
Yeah.
Look, no blue liquid. I want to know, but like, what's the opposite? Like, how much can these mattresses absorb of your victim's blood? And that's who our sponsorship should be.
I wish I were shopping for mattresses right now, because if I went into a mattress firm and started talking to a
Ask them.
salesman, I would be like, okay, so what's the absorbency on a thing like this?
Oh my God. They're like, well, you mean, is it like firm or squishy? They're like, no.
How
Absorbency.
much liquid can it hold
Mm-hmm.
within
Mm-hmm.
it?
Yeah.
Are you looking for a waterbed? No, no, absolutely not.
No.
No, no,
No.
no, no. Something
Something
spongy.
really retains human moisture. I have a heating cooling problem that I'm trying to, like my boyfriend likes it hot, I like it cold, but really we both bleed a lot in our sleep and we don't want to get the floors wet.
Oh my God. So the cops on the radio mentioned to Detective Ronson about the mattress, and Kirsty overhears it, and she's like, Julia. Like Julia died on her stepmother in movie one,
Yeah.
died on that mattress, meaning she very well could come back because she knows that's how Frank did it in movie one.
Yeah.
Frank had died, but
He was in the house,
yeah.
sort of. The house that fed on blood.
So my guess is, in this world, in Cenobite Land, you Cenobite Land's in California, Cenobite World is in
Oh,
Florida.
is that it? And
Yeah,
then
okay, yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here in
And then there's
Cenobite Land,
Tokyo Cenobite,
yeah.
Euro Cenobite. Yeah.
hmm
Uh-huh.
They So I guess if you die there, there's always like a core essence of who you were. Like you just return to a single indestructible kernel of life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
by being fed blood of the living, you can bring your body back. Is
Yeah.
that's kind of a
No, I
question, more of a
agree.
statement. Okay.
I know, I totally agree because I think it's like wherever it's also like related to the box. Like wherever, this box is such a cursed object that like wherever you open that box, and you get Cinnabited,
Mhm.
Cinnabit. Is that
Cinnabut. Yeah.
you've been Cinnabut? Um, it's like becomes a cursed place as well. Like there's like it's
Okay.
kind of like an a vortex or a portal of some sort.
Yeah.
Even if you close the box and you get Cinnabit.
Yeah. So now we're gonna meet Dr. Chenard, who
Oh
is
dear. Dr. Bad
he's
Doctor,
oh
paging
boy,
Dr.
he
Bad
is
Doctor.
Dr. Evil Doctor, man. He is Dr. Bad Doctor. He is doing just a he is in the operating theater demonstrating brain surgery
Uh-huh.
using like
And
a,
then
a slap chopper.
I was gonna
Like,
say an immersion, an
yeah, an
immersion
immersion
blender.
blender. Yeah.
Like first we open the skull, then we add some balsamic, some parsley, and blend. Meanwhile, the person on the operating table is like seems to be fully conscious
Yeah, her eyes
and
are
very
moving around.
concerned. But it's not even like the operation is bad enough. It's really the like esoteric mumbo jumbo that he's just like, and the brain is the labyrinth of the mind. And into the labyrinth we go in order to find the inner sanctum. And oh, paging Dr. Bad Doctor, your patient is awake. Well, I'm all done here. You can finish this up. I have finished my treaty on brain labyrinths, and goodbye.
I like that he's like, here, clean this up. I'm like,
I
her
know.
her skull is fully open right now, sir. I
You just scrambled her brain like eggs.
this
And
isn't a
that
ball
was the
jar.
procedure?
Yeah, I can just screw the lid back on. Oh my god. Okay, so he's very excited about Dr. Chenard is pompously excited to work on Kirsty, and he's got his assistant Kyle McCrae.
Oh, Kyle, ineffectual Kyle.
Kyle is played by William Hope. Another connection here. Do you remember William Hope? Do you remember what else he has been in?
No,
Just
no,
2 years before this movie.
wait. Oh, I don't. Okay. Is he in? Well, he's in Aliens.
Yes, he's Lieutenant Gorman in Aliens.
Okay.
So he's
Yes.
like the hard nose. Oh God, is it him and what's their name? Sanchez? Is that it's Gorman?
Yes.
Yes, those two. Um,
Yeah.
and
That
so
are
it's
like, we're gonna kill these aliens.
yeah, yeah, and it's so funny too. I mean, acting, of course, but
Yeah.
he plays such kind of a soft boy with his big puffy curly hair and
Yeah.
button downs and khakis and whatever else, and going from 2 years earlier being buzz cut Lieutenant
Yeah.
Gorman.
This character reminds me a lot of like, um, if the doctor from Reanimator was
Hmm.
given no character development,
Agreed.
you know,
Totally agreed.
but also has kind of or Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors,
Hmm.
has had, the guy who's like, I don't know, we're really trying to help these kids. But this guy, he has a few good scenes, and then he's like, let's split up in the murder house. And that is the
Yeah.
last we hear of him.
He is ultimately like the entire archetype for him is, well, he's a man and she's a woman, so thus there must be some love interest. So
Yeah.
they play at that.
Yeah.
I will give him credit for the one thing is that it's this is a low bar, but he immediately believes her when she says the crazy stuff she says.
Yeah.
He at least looks into it, and I
Yeah.
know maybe that's bad psych ward doctoring there, that you
Uh-huh.
shouldn't believe everything your patients say, but he like actually like explores the concept of what she's saying.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's so important for a horror movie that we weren't doing a lot of this shit in the 80s.
Yeah. Because like Kirsty needs, she's like, there was a murder house, demons, murder bed,
Uh-huh.
mattress, the whole thing. And then he's like, okay, I checked it out. And I found a woman with no skin. So you know what? I'm all in. And that's kind of nice. I think that's
Yeah.
good for Kirsty, that she has like an ally.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that partnership does not last long.
No. He He also overhears Kyle is in a little bit going to overhear Dr. Chenard in his office talking
Mhm.
about acquiring the mattress from the crime scene. And I'm like, how do
What?
you buy how do you buy evidence at a
Yeah.
crime? Is there an estate sale?
Oh my God. They're like, okay, this, oh, like, what is his connection within the Chicago, London Police
I
Department?
don't know. Oh my God.
And he's like, no, no,
Unbelievable.
not, don't deliver to the Institute, my personal home. Is
Hmm.
that legal? What is happening?
I'm gonna guess no. I'm not a lawyer, but I will guess that is not
But I
legal
play
to
one on a podcast.
to. He also sneaks into his house, which is when he sees like the shit going on. We'll get to that in a second, but he's like actually exploring. Dr.
Yes.
Chenard is probably not.
He's like, Chenard's up to something.
Chenard's fucking up to something. Meanwhile, in
And
Kirsty's room, oh, I'm sorry. Let's introduce Tiffany.
oh, Tiffany.
I she is a mute girl,
Yeah.
teenage-ish.
Yeah.
She doesn't speak, she only solves puzzles. And
She
Kyle
loves
says
puzzles.
Dr. Chenard thinks it's just a good idea to keep giving her puzzles. And of course, we kind of know already that Dr. Chenard is the
Hmm.
bad person, and Dr. Chenard really, really wants to open portals. So he's training her, grooming her to be a
I
puzzle
was gonna
solver.
say, I was like, is he a puzzle groomer?
Yep.
It's like, here, what if we start you with just some jigsaw puzzles? It's a gateway, it's an entry. You know what this is? Everybody does these. You've ever been, it's long winter, you're locked in a cabin with your family. Here, do some puzzles. Now do more complicated. And the next thing you know, you're opening a portal to hell.
Gonna have to add puzzle groomer to the band name list.
Also, I love this actress. Her face is fascinating. Like she has the most like sphinx, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's something about her face that just like every time she's on camera, like I think just some people are made for film acting. And it's unfortunate that like she doesn't speak. And when she does, she literally just goes, shit. In the very last act, she has one line and she says shit. Um, but her face is like so enigmatic. Beautiful casting.
Yeah. So, hold on, let me get my thing here.
She's
She
puzzling away.
she is puzzling away, and meanwhile, as she's solving this kind of like woodblock puzzle, which is not like the Cenobite puzzles, but she is putting together
Yeah.
this little woodblock puzzle. Because so, unlike the more ornate, elaborate Cenobite puzzles we've seen
Hmm.
so far, those kind of open whole gateways into hell, whereas these
Yeah.
simpler puzzles just kind of like open like a quick visual sort of thing,
Yeah.
is the sense I got. Because what ends up happening is an image happens in Kiersey's room of a skinless man, all bloody and gloopy, lying in the corner, and he is spelled out, "I am in hell, help me," on the wall.
Now, Jeffrey,
Mm-hmm.
the described scenario has just happened in your room.
Mm-hmm.
You go up, you touch the blood because you want to make sure it's real.
Uh-huh.
Is your first choice to then just use that blood as a little bit of like little lip dab?
Yeah, I mean
There,
it's moisturizing, and
it's
I think it protects you from UV rays.
chapped
Mm-hmm.
lips. More people put blood on their lips in a single, like, what is happening in this world? I'm telling you, Clive Barker, sexy, sensual Stephen King.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, blood. Well, you know what? I forgot my chapstick, so might as well
Uh-huh.
just boop, 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 boop.
And
I was
also
like,
like it
Kirsty,
colors. Yeah, colors it a little
yeah,
bit too. Yeah.
she's then it's like where she's like, you know what? Maybe a little lip. I just want to put on a quick lip before I see Doctor Sexy Doctor tomorrow. I also can we just go back to Kyle when Dr. Kyle is like, here's some pills, just take a couple. I was like, I don't that's not like a prescription, just like a handful, a couple. He's like, here's some sleeping pills. Just, if you oh, okay, you don't want those.
Yeah.
I was like, what kind of doctors are these? I'm just gonna leave you this bottle of sleeping pills in the psych ward. Take it one to 12, anywhere in there. Just whatever you feel like.
Just pick a number, any number, take
Yeah,
that many
just a
pills.
couple.
That's how pills work. There is a line when before Kyle knows for sure that Dr. Chenard is bad doctor. Kirsty is telling him, my father is in hell and alone
Yeah.
and suffering.
Saw a vision
Kyle
of
was
him.
like,
Yeah.
well, he's dead, Kirsty. And she's like, yeah, and he's alone and still suffering. And then he says, I'm sure Dr. Chenard can help. And she goes, does he got a ticket to hell?
I love it. She's so fucking sassy. Like, I gotta say, like, I think there's a reason why these first two, especially, but like, Kirsty is, she is such a great final girl because she
Mm-hmm.
gets in those one-liners that kind of fly under the radar sometimes.
Yep.
Does he have a ticket to hell? No. Well, can't help my dad, then can he?
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is where we get the backstory about how her dad was married to Julia. That was
Yeah,
her
and
stepmom.
now a 5-minute montage of the last film.
But Uncle Frank had come over and had an affair with Julia, and then
He kills people so Frank can grow a
yeah.
new body.
Yeah, so when Frank opens the
Typical
puzzle box,
meet
he
cute.
dies. Yeah, she's got to feed him blood, so she brings men over under the guise of bringing one night stands home and kills them, feeds them the blood. He grows back. Then ultimately, he betrays Julia by
Mhm.
killing her, and she died on that mattress, so she can come back. And also, one of the ways they had tricked Kirsty into thinking everything's okay is that Frank had worn Dad's skin.
Yes.
Like he just slides it on, like it's like video game logic.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like the notion that like you just got into a prolonged sword fight and you've been slashed 80 times,
hmm
but all you keep doing is hitting the little life potion button, and then
Yeah.
that's all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You're like, oh,
And
I'm good.
that's
I'm
yeah,
good
I'm
now.
good. I'm good. We're not worried about wounds. We're not worried about how
No.
well the skin just fits on your face.
No. Perfect fit. Even though these men are two very different sizes.
Yep. Okay. There's when Doctor Chenard is back at his house and he's acquired the mattress. I love this so much. There is this like I say nice, like 80s nice like office space. It's like a library,
Yeah.
lounge area, books on the
Yeah.
walls, like just finely decorated, this big oak
Yeah.
desk, and he has got a Waterford crystal highball of scotch
Yeah.
swirling it around in his hand, and he looks down and he is just staring at a blood-filled mattress with chains on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, I how did he get that delivered to his house? I don't know. What was
No.
the eyebrows raised? Unknown.
Yeah. I
I
know
do love that
West
it's like
Elm.
not on anything.
Uh-huh.
Again, mattress
Yeah.
pad.
Yeah.
Like you're just throw it anywhere. Just
Yeah.
just anywhere you want.
I know
I
West Elm
I
does white glove delivery.
I know, right?
So they'll
This
do
is
that
red
for you.
glove, black
Yeah.
glove delivery, red right hand delivery.
Yep.
I love this design though. Like, this is like props or shout out to the props and set design because this like sort of occult office kind of tells you everything you need to know about this guy.
Yeah.
It's like really interesting looking weird stuff on the walls. Definitely a few, he's got multiple boxes, multiple
Yeah.
Cenobite boxes, which I love. I'm like, what are the story for these other boxes? I mean, later it's just going to be kind of a wash when we see them. He's just handing them out like Halloween candy, Christmas candy. I don't know,
Hmm.
like Halloween candy to his patients. But I was like, oh, there's different kinds of boxes. Do they all go to hell? Maybe there's like good boxes. Maybe there's other hells.
Yeah. I want to show some appreciation for the props department in this scrapbook that Kyle
Oh
finds.
yes,
He sneaks in as Dr. Chenard leaves and he finds this scrapbook that it's got a photo of Elliot Spencer, Pinhead, from the
in
beginning
his
when he was still a
British
soldier.
uniform. Yeah,
It's got like all these newspaper articles about death and the beyond. And my absolute favorite was a headline that says, "Is death the
Yes.
fourth dimension?" I'm like, no, we already know what the fourth dimension. It's not death. What are you doing?
Is it? But
Death,
is
the
it?
fourth dimension.
It's like if we ask the question enough, you might start doubting it.
Yep.
Is death the fourth dimension? Maybe I just put emphasis on different words. It'll become true.
So Kyle hears people coming back in and he has to hide behind a curtain.
Classic.
Richard Brinsley
Why go out
Sheridan. Yeah.
the window? Why can't go out the window? That's right there. No, no, no.
No, no, no.
We need
Let's
some plot to happen.
No, we need
Like
classic French
Moliere,
farce
eat your
here.
heart out.
Yeah, that's right. And this is Dr. Chenard coming in with a man in a straitjacket. So he's coming in with a patient who is fully in the throes of physical and mental discomfort,
Oh
let's
yeah.
say.
Now, we have learned through a series of kind of confusing, but, sort of throwaway shots almost, that there's like level one, patient admittance,
Mhm.
basement, sub basement is maintenance. And maintenance is one, Freddy's boiler room from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And two, also where he just has like padded cells
Yeah.
just casually stocked with very volatile mental patients
Yeah.
in the like maintenance rooms.
Yeah. That are leaking badly, by the way. It's
Yeah.
just water spraying
Yeah.
everywhere out of these things.
I don't know what the Chenard Institute is just like. Well, they're clearly in cahoots with the Chicago London police, but there also seem to be in cahoots with the up to codes, like the building standards. Nope.
Yeah.
But he's like stashing away people in the basement, which, you know, in the sort of like, we don't get any scenes or, we just sort of see like a quick, silence of the lambs, like, oh, look at this person in terror. Look at this person in a padded room. And then we understand why he's been doing blood mattress experiments on them
Mhm.
or some sort of experimenting, but now he has the blood mattress to do blood mattress experiments.
Yeah. And he's got some confirmation from Kirsty that Julia is inside that mattress. So now we watch him, strip this man down, and this man is screaming, "Get them off of me!" And he is, as we see from the camera work, that this man imagines that his body is covered in maggots. It is clearly covered in pustules and sores from him probably just scratching himself all the time.
Yeah. This is where the horror squeamish, you know what? Just the next 5 to 7 minutes, just you might want to hit the fast forward button on this one because this scene is rough.
Yeah, go make a snack. Go make some tomato soup or whatever. Yeah.
Put it on mute, walk away, take a breather, come back when Julia appears because this is hard to watch because it's like this mental patient who's like in distress.
Uh-huh.
And Dr. Chenard in his, very British suit and a very cold demeanor goes to his desk and he gets a straight razor and is like, here you go.
Yeah. And he starts just cutting himself madly on this mattress.
This is rough.
And all that blood is enough to feed skinless Julia. And she pops out, chases his ass down. Her MO, by the way, when she gets somebody, when she wants to kill them, is to reach her hand behind their head.
Yes.
Like in sort of like pinch claw formation, like all your fingertips together and just right in the back of the neck.
Like grab their neck bones.
Yeah, like the top, whatever just above your top vertebra is, and just right into the skull.
I mean, I also love that like the way she comes out of this mattress is like so sexual.
Uh-huh.
Because it's like she gets him in kind of like a full leg lock bear hug from below. And it does look a bit like lube wrestling at your local bar.
Uh-huh. So there's a great moment when this patient is trying to escape her, and he's reaching up toward the curtain that Kyle is
Mhm.
hiding behind. And at the last second, she pulls him down. And
Oh, I was like, no, no,
oh,
no. Oh,
oh,
okay, good.
okay, good.
And but again, it's like he peeks out and he's like, there's a woman with no skin lube wrestling with a mental patient, except it's blood wrestling.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck? So at least he's on the same page with Kirsty at this point.
Yeah. I feel like my next move is maybe it's the wrong move, but feel like my next move in logical world is just being like, I should actually contact the police
What?
and maybe like tell somebody higher up than Lieutenant Ronson.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, yeah.
so there was a crime scene, and I found out that my boss actually has a blood-soaked mattress at
Hmm.
his house.
Yeah.
So maybe
Check that
check that
out.
out and see if people are selling evidence off to things.
What? Huh?
Also, the other thing you could do is wait until he leaves and set the mattress on fire. Because what's he gonna do? He cannot report that. It's sort of like
Oh
destroying
yeah.
somebody's drug stash.
Yeah,
Like, what are
yeah,
you gonna
yeah.
do? Report it to the police?
You wrote a bad check for drugs. You just
Uh-huh.
write for drugs in the little check memo
Yeah.
place. They're like, the check bounced for my drugs.
Okay. The biggest cackle I've had in a while watching any movie is coming up, which is so now Julia has come out
Yeah.
of the mattress. She's all muscle, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
muscle and sinew. She has
Yeah.
no skin. She's everything but the skin. And she is looking at herself in the mirror. She screams, she punches it, and she turns to Dr. Chenard and is like, I'm cold. Cecil, do you remember what he does to help her not be so cold?
Well, he pours her a glass of
Mm-hmm.
wine. Um, he lets her go get some clothes.
And what clothes does she choose?
Well, of the only option was the white linen suit. Clearly. Now, here's the thing.
Oh,
There is a woman with no skin
uh-huh.
walking around your minimalist 80s home,
All white, all
all
white
white.
floors, stairs, walls.
And I'm like, put on some slippers because this is an OCD nightmare.
Uh-huh.
Everything, like there's like one single handprint of blood on the wall. However, I'm like, you're just gonna have the carpet gone, flooring destroyed. Anything this woman touches is covered in Caro syrup,
Uh-huh.
red food coloring, goo.
Yeah. Well, she drinks
I
his
love she
wine.
picks that white suit. She's
She
like, you know
picks that
what?
white suit. It's so funny. It's so funny that I'm like, okay. I mean, anything you wear is going to get blood on it, but there are certain clothes that will hide stains better than
No,
others.
she loves it.
She
She loves
fucking
it.
loves it. She drinks his wine. She takes a drag off his cigarette 'cause she's remembering all the good feelings of
Cigarette.
fun things.
I'm also like, girl, you are literally an open wound.
Uh-huh.
Like, if a stiff breeze blows through that house, you are infected. Like,
Yeah.
also, to add to that,
Uh-huh.
wouldn't literally everything hurt? Like taking a step, putting on that suit, touching it, like you're literally like open wounds. But then again, she's also been the queen of hell for like an indeterminate amount of time. So maybe she loves the pain. But I'm like, there's no, does she not have nerves? Is it all muscles, no nerves?
She's got to have nerves because it's all about sensuality, like the
Right?
sensual feel. I don't, just, or maybe she's used to that level of pain. That's why they got to heighten
She's
it so
she's
much.
she's she's up there. She's
Hmm.
like, this is nothing.
So she just says, now all we need is skin.
Yeah.
Oh, he also wraps her up fully in gauze at this point, so she's very good night mommy looking.
Yeah,
And
very, very eyes without a face.
mhm. And then they
And then puts a
actually,
dress over top of the gauze just to make her feel pretty.
and then
Because that
she,
would be weird and awkward if she just had gauze on.
yeah, and then she kisses him, and I'm like, wait, okay, I understand his motivation as a science, like it's flimsy, but I
Yeah.
get scientist or person is in pursuit of the knowledge of this other world, this
He's
secret
the labyrinth.
place.
Remember the labyrinth of the mind
Yeah.
monologue? It's very, esoteric occult doctor.
Like to be sexually attracted to like a slab of Wagyu beef is a
Oh
different
my God.
story.
Mm. You know what I thought? Lady Gaga in the meat dress.
Oh yeah, okay. All right. Now
I
I'm
was like,
getting it.
clearly, I mean, there's a look.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay, I'm
look,
getting it now.
girl. We're working that look. And that look is Wagyu beef. He's like, you know what? I want to kiss that beef.
Okay, now Kyle is going to go back to Kirsty and he knows the truth and he's like,
He's like, this
one,
is
this
nuts.
guy
Yeah.
is an orderly at a hospital.
He's,
He is sitting in her room while she is showering.
I know, right?
Like, we need an employee handbook for this hospital, you guys. There are
I
a
was
lot
like,
of problems
what
with
is
this
this
hospital.
hospital? They're like doing brain surgery and shit. I was like, what kind of psychiatric ward is this? There's no, what? What is
He
happening?
he mentions to her that Chenard has a bunch of these boxes, and she's like, I need those boxes because her want is to get her dad out of hell.
Yes.
So she's like, we gotta go. We gotta do this now. And this is so weird. He says, give me 2 seconds, okay? He
Yeah.
leaves the screen.
Yeah.
Screen does not change. He comes
No.
back and he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. What did you
Did,
go do?
he need to get his coat?
Is that what he did? I didn't
I
notice him
think he
change clothes.
literally got his coat.
Okay.
But
What?
in the realm of like unnecessary bullshit
It
in
was
movies, we didn't need that. I mean, if it had been like, wait, give me 2 seconds and he'd come back with, I don't know, a
shotgun.
weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah. A pass key, um, a change of clothes for Kirsty. But nope,
Yep. Garlic on
baffling.
a string,
Anything. Yeah.
All right. We now go back to Chenard's fancy house, and he's got a room full of bodies hanging.
Oh, well, I mean, it's so they sneak in the same way
Yeah.
through the occult, office.
Uh-huh.
The mattress is there, the body is gone. Clearly, he's told Kirsty about there's a woman with no skin attacking people.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what? And she's like, oh, look at here's the boxes. Okay, great. And then a classic move. You wait here. I'm going to check out the house by
Wait,
myself to make
oh,
sure no one's home.
this makes no sense because the one thing you wanted, the only thing you wanted, were the
Was
boxes.
the boxes
And the boxes are right next to the window you just
right
snuck in through.
there. They're
Literally next to the window.
right there.
So we no longer need to scout the house
No,
for guard dogs or
in
sentries
in
or
out, bing bam bop.
yeah. Yeah, no, we've already bypassed the ADT sign out front. We're good.
No, right.
We can take the boxes and go. So I don't know what he's proving.
It's
And
also
he's
just
like,
the
"You wait
like,
here." And if I'm Kirsty, I'm like, "No, I got what I need.
fuck
Let's
no.
go."
Yeah, let's get out of here. Or like, fuck no, we don't need like no, we're in this together.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
this leads
Wait.
to yeah,
We
go
have to
ahead.
back up one step though, because right before the scene is the hanging body room before Kirsty and
Yes.
Kyle get there, because this is where Julia gets her skin. Now the skin thing is so
That's my
weird.
this is where Julia gets her skin. How Julia gets her skin back. The unauthorized sequel to how Stella got her groove back.
she everybody hanging up looks dead and
Yeah.
just rough, weathered
Yeah.
bodies. Like
Yeah.
even before they died, they looked rough. But there is one body who is still alive, and it is an attractive young woman who is screaming as as Julie is
Yeah.
reaching for her to scoop her brains out, kill her, whatever. The thing is, this attractive young woman, and this is a trope. This goes back to Howling 2, your sister's a werewolf, like
Sure.
old, woman who needs
Yes.
young woman's body. Great.
Yes.
And I thought, all right, well, this actress who just played the screaming victim
Hmm.
is about to play the evil villain.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were going to bring Clare Higgins back for this. So somehow this woman who looks nothing like Clare Higgins, skin tone, hair, shape,
No. Yeah.
face, nothing about her looks like Julia from movie one. And somehow we just cut off the skin, slap it on Julia's body, and she
Is
looks
that
just
even
like it.
is it even like cut off that like it's not even a Frankenstein thing because you look at the other bodies, is she just like sampling their skin? Like, I don't know, just like bring me bodies. I'm just gonna like just take 3 bites and I'm full.
Uh-huh.
Because
I don't,
there's like 8 bodies in this room.
yeah,
What is she? How? Huh? What? Is she just like she's just a picky eater?
yeah. Well, now she's fully Julia again.
Back to normal.
Back to normal. Looks great. Fantastic. I like her longer hair in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it makes her look so much younger. And she also, for whatever reason, Dr. Chenard has not just a dress for her to wear, but full accessories of necklace and earrings,
Those
hair
earrings.
products,
Those
everything.
earrings looked like they weigh about 5 pounds. The 80s.
He's got makeup for her, everything. He knew everything to get for his new Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Now, this is when Kyle wanders through the house for no fucking reason, runs
Just
into
checking
Julia,
doors. Yeah.
who plays innocent, being like, "Oh, if you go in that room, you'll be so scared at what you see. You probably don't want to see it. It'll be scary." He's like, "Okay, I'll look."
And
Was it
this is where
scary?
and Kyle's like, is she still here? Meaning the skinless woman, but there's a woman with skin. I'm like, my man,
Uh-huh.
you didn't know? You you
You're
didn't think
just
she might be?
you're just trusting anybody in this house. Like even if you didn't think a skinless woman could get skin this
Mm-hmm.
fast, which
Mm-hmm.
fair enough, I wouldn't think
I don't
either.
understand how that happened either. And
No,
I'm watching the movie. Yeah.
but I would think this woman talking to me must somehow be involved because she is
Mm-hmm.
dressed for opera night
Yeah.
just on a
Right.
Wednesday late morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes into the room of bodies
Oh.
and
Oh. Look at
there's
this. So
oh
scary. Terrified. Are you terrified?
come poor boy, come here, come to mummy, come to
No.
mother.
The sort of like hypersexual role play in this, like in this scene later when we get like Frank and Kirsty, I'm like, this like bad porn dialogue. I'm not into it, Jeffrey.
No.
Come to mommy.
Uh-uh.
Oh, I'm good. Ooh. And he's like, Dr. Kyle is terrified, but also apparently susceptible to her feminine charms in the murder room.
Yeah. Maybe he's got a mommy kink. I don't know. I have no
Maybe.
idea. Well, Kirsty now has to go fucking search for Kyle because he didn't come back. And then she goes up into the body room, gets her ass knocked out cold by
I love
Julia.
this. Julia's like, oh, hey, Snow White.
Uh-huh.
I'm no longer the wicked stepmother. I'm the evil queen. And she like roundhouse punches Christine,
Yes.
like knocks her like WWE style, knocks her like 5 feet away.
Then Chenard shows up with Tiffany and says, "Now it's my turn." And he leaves Tiffany to solve one of the fancy puzzle boxes.
Now wait, and cool,
Uh-huh.
but
First, very cool.
cool, okay. And like Julia and Dr. Chenard are in the little weird, watching room that he had built in the little two-way mirror kind of thing. Julia knows what's on the other side. This is where I'm like, I kind of forgot like the end of the movie, but I'm like, you escaped from hell, and now this dude wants to open a portal to hell. aren't the Cenobites going to be coming for you, girl?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. It's not what's happening, though.
No.
Julia has a plan.
Yeah, what is her plan? Is it to become like next to her god Leviathan or whatever? Like she just wants to move up the ranks in the eyes of
Yeah. Yeah.
Leviathan.
Yeah. Later, she said before she pushes the doctor into the Cenobite elevator,
Yeah.
the Francis Bacon Iser, she's like, well, hell needs flesh. And I got out. And you know what? You're my first victim. So boop, there you go.
This came up recently in another thing I was talking about with somebody, but I was talking about there's a kind of a not often used but recognizable trope. It's more of a line that happens in horror or suspense or thriller, which is
Mhm.
the "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the villain asks somebody else, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like I'm offering you the way out, and it's kind of the height of Aristotelian horror irony, because
Yeah.
we know what that person knows.
Yeah.
And I think about if you've seen Fargo season 1, there's a moment where Billy Bob Thornton asks Martin Freeman's character when, Martin Freeman confronts him and he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this, Lester?" And Lester's
Hmm.
like, "Yeah." And then all fucking hell breaks
Yeah.
loose in the most terrifying way. And this is what happens. She asks Chenard, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he says, "It's what I've always wanted. I have to see. I have to know."
Like,
She's
all
like, "Well,
right.
you're about
Well,
to find out, my dude."
here we go.
Cenobites emerge. Their morality is so weird because they skip over Tiffany because they're
Yeah.
like, no, it's not the solver that called us. It's not the hands that call us, but the desire, meaning Chenard.
Oh.
But then they're like later, like, no, but you are one of ours. And I'm like, why
But
don't you just do full street cleaning? Just
yeah,
everything in your way, just take it with you because
just
you're
take
going
it
to
all with
want
you.
it.
Now, this is where I have to say the reboot of Hellraiser, I think, finessed a lot of this and made
Okay.
it part of the plot, like as opposed to just like a throwaway like this. We're so like I really enjoyed the reboot. I hope they continue along like that vein of the Hellraiser saga.
Uh
But
huh.
it really does, it's like whoever solves the puzzle box versus like the hands versus the desire,
Uh
and
huh.
those can be two different people. They can be the same person, but the Cenobites do not give a fuck.
No. Why should
And
they?
I that's where I gotta say, like, go watch the reboot. It's really good. I think they handled it really well. It's also
Okay.
very like I think they just finessed a lot of the mythology around this and they went, okay, what are the fucking rules of this joint? Because after 8 movies in the Hellraiser franchise or whatever, we gotta talk some shit out here.
Yeah. Okay, so they've emerged. We've got Pinhead and Toothy, Big Man, and Cheek
Yeah.
Rings.
Yeah.
All got,
Chatters.
yeah, Chatters the
Chitter
Toothy.
chatter.
um, and Kirsty wakes up. She's also in the pits of hell. So this has just swallowed everybody in this house.
Yeah.
And the pits of hell in this movie are labyrinth, right? We're playing with the imagery of the
It's like
the labyrinth. There's
MC
a very like
Escher, MC
MC
Escher
Escher,
Labyrinth.
yeah,
Yep.
which is I think cool because you get the MC Escher labyrinth from the overhead view
Uh-huh.
with all the crazy stairwells and stuff, which is really gorgeous, like set painted piece. And I think
Yeah.
I really love the set painted piece because it doesn't look real, but it looks magical.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. I think it's expressionistic, right?
Yeah.
As
It
opposed
and
to trying to be realistic.
yeah.
But the actual labyrinth, when we're on the ground in the tunnels, just seems to be one long tunnel that splits into 3, and if you just stick to the middle one, you're going to be fine. Like that's
Yeah.
just a direct line between center of hell and the hospital room.
It's also so funny, like, just the if you nobody ever goes straight because that's a set piece. They always end up sort of turning again, like
Uh-huh.
into a little cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Just in a bit of movie making, you're like, well, we can't. Well, that's okay. How do we actually shoot this?
Okay, so Tiffany is there, Kirsty is there. Like we've all been zapped to the
All
pits
your
of
friends are
Cenobite
there.
land. Yeah. Tiffany runs across a dark carnival. There's
Oh
a
my God.
funhouse
Again with
mirror.
the Beetlejuice. I was like, what is going like purple and green Beetlejuice world?
What is Tiffany's story? Like her mom in the mirrors, her mom is like, "Help my daughter, help
Uh-huh.
my
Well,
daughter."
we get a bit a crumb. We get a crumb in the carnival. I
Yeah.
think it kind of becomes apparent later.
Does it? I still didn't quite understand. Like, she gave her daughter up to this hospital to
Like her
be.
daughter's obsessed with puzzles,
Uh-huh.
won't speak.
Okay.
The doctor is like, well, I'm trying to solve an interdimensional hell portal puzzle. So, and you see like a black gloved, cover over mother's mouth, takes her
S-
away. And like the doctor does some sort of surgery on Tiffany. So maybe she did speak, but she doesn't speak anymore.
Yeah, I
She,
got all of that. I just couldn't quite piece together the actual story of like, why did mom bring her to him? What
who
was the black
knows?
glove killer doing?
Unknown.
But what this
There's also a baby that is just
sewing its
sidebar.
mouth shut?
There's also a fetal baby sewing its mouth shut. I think it's a metaphor, Jeffrey.
I like I said, if you're going to make this movie, this is how you make it.
Yeah,
I know I'm diving into like what's her backstory, and honestly, it is this movie is kind of like Funhouse or Haunted
yeah,
House or Dark Carnival. It's meant to have a bunch of crazy images that scare you, disgust you, frighten you, whatever, unnerve you, creep you out of your seat, and that's what this does. Like
yeah.
mommy having a
But
black
don't
glove
think
pull
about
her
it for
away.
too long. It's like
No.
something will jump out of the shadows and then we move the fuck on.
Well, before the baby sewing its own mouth shut, she sees a clown juggling his own eyeballs that
Oh
he's
my
ripped out of
God,
his
how could I
face.
forget? What? Is she the daughter of a clown? A sightless clown? What? Huh?
Kirsty is in her family home. This is very on Elm
Oh
Street 3. This is
yeah.
very Dream Warriors. Like,
Yeah, she
she's
stumbles into
fooled by,
yeah.
oh, I'm in my family home. Look at
Oh,
this
this is so
picture of
nice.
me
And
and my mother.
it's her mother, but then all the portraits start filling up with blood.
And they all turn into Julia, her stepmom.
Yeah.
Then there's roaches and rats everywhere. And then the Cenobites show up. And Pinhead is like, oh, Kirsty, we thought we'd lost you. And she's trying to solve the box real fast. And he's like, oh, well, you can't. You
No,
solved the
you're in
box. You can't.
hell.
You're in hell. You can't send us back. We're already here. And then they laugh at her because she's like, I just want my father.
You're like, oh, poor
So,
thing.
quick note, at no point in time does she ever find her father, nor do we
No,
learn anything about what happened to him.
no,
She is going to get out of this movie. Spoiler alert, she's going to live and survive, and everything's going to be fine. She never gets her dad.
no,
We just lost that. That's
no.
the MacGuffin, I guess.
I hear that this was actually a casting thing where like the actor who played the father didn't want to come back for the sequel.
Uh-huh.
So maybe there was a time where she did find, so there was some draft on the cutting room floor or whatever where she did find her father, but then they were like, oh shit, we can't actually do that because we don't have the guy for that.
Right, right.
So it's spoiler, it's Frank just pretending to be your father.
Uh-huh.
Surprise!
Boo.
Haha.
Uh
Tricked you, lured you to hell on a on an
well
errand.
they meanwhile are like, we'll be back for you later, essentially. We're like,
We
feel
have
free
all the
to
time of the you're in hell. We got all the time in the world to taste your flesh or
yeah,
something creepy like
to
that.
explore your flesh, I think is
Blech.
what he's bleh.
No, thank you.
Uh that line never works for me at the bar.
Hey, babe, can I explore your flesh?
I have a very absorbent mattress. Jesus Christ. All right, let me veer back onto the path now.
We're
Julie,
never gonna get that Casper mattress
Helix is never
sponsorship.
going to sponsor us now.
God damn it.
Okay, so Julia and Dr. Chenard are walking through Meow Wolf's new hell
Oh my
location.
God, I love this. Yeah, it
Ugh,
is absolutely Meow Wolf. Because it's like, because Julia and Kirsty's hell is very institutional. It's very like institutional walls that are kind of drippy, but like Julia's taken Dr. Chenard through like almost like dark fairy world.
uh-huh.
It's like roots underground. It's like This is the craziest production of A Midsummer Night's Dream you've ever seen.
Well, they they go and meet her god Leviathan, who is
Yes.
atop the giant MC Escher, the kind of infinite MC Escher
Yeah.
landscape, sort of
Yeah.
maze looking thing. And then at the top, oh, I meant to look this up before we started recording, this type of shape, but it's like an elongated three-dimensional diamond shape that just
Yes.
kind of spins and like beams of blackness shoot out of it.
Yeah. And when
And
those beams of blackness hit you, we get some really cool, like, reverse image, and it kind of goes through a montage of whatever character that is. It's like it can see into the darkest part of your memories.
and it hits Dr. Chenard and he starts having flashbacks of all of his bad doctor bullshit.
Yeah, like even
Of
from a young child, he's doing like he's tearing up animals.
mhm.
He's, making emulsion blender
Yeah.
vinaigrette out of people's brains.
Yep. And he starts, like feeling
Get,
horrible and being
getting
like,
all
help me.
whimpery.
He's getting all blubbery and she walks him over to the little phone booth, basically.
I love this. It's like I love it. It's like there's just like a giant, like one of the little puzzle boxes, but as an elevator, it does not work very well as a large set piece. Let me just say, as a single thing, that awesome. This elevator is, I don't know what this is, but it
It's
just sort of like rises up, and she's like, "Well, you know what? This is my god. The god needs bodies, so I brought him you."
yeah.
She pushes him into the elevator.
And she said, you wanted to know, and now you know.
Now you
And
know.
wires start cutting his face up and
Weird claw
things
things, or
rip out his tongue, and there's later a
oh, it
giant.
also like goes into his mouth, and we just see him descending in the elevator, and we're like, oh no,
Oh no.
oh, that's the last we're gonna see of that guy.
Nope. Later we're gonna see like a giant tentacle thing. I think this is really cool. Like a huge tentacle comes out of
Yes.
the depths of below, like an infinite length tentacle that inside it opens up like a hand, like a palm,
Yeah.
but there's a spinning immersion blender blade in it.
Yeah.
It grabs the top of his head, so it grinds into it, and then it lifts him. So the tentacle just kind of carries him, hovering about a foot off the ground wherever he goes.
It's like a cross between, the Baron Harkonnen and David Lynch's Dune and Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball. That's the Venn diagram we're working with. And Dr. Chenard is the center of that diagram.
I was taking a swig of soda as you said that, and that was a mistake that I have just made. Oh my
Because I
God.
shit you not, for the next 24 hours after watching this movie, I had came in like a wrecking ball. Whenever this fucking doctor swings into the scene, he's later like got this tentacle thing. I was like, he clearly has his soundtrack all ready to go.
Kirsty and Tiffany meet up in the labyrinth. Kirsty, for fuck's
These
sake,
two.
Kirsty is like, listen, Tiffany, you know how to solve these things. We have to help each other. I need you to solve. Tiffany's like listening. Kirsty's
Yeah.
kind of like, you gotta solve the box to close
Solve
it
the
so
box.
we
Get
can
out of
get
here.
out. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, Tiffany. This right here, this is my dad's house. I can tell this is for real my dad's house. I gotta go in there. You just wait here. If I don't come back in like 20 minutes, just you go on ahead. And then she just runs into this fucking house.
Yeah.
Inside this house, this is a cool feature, by the way.
Yeah.
When I start shopping for an apartment again, I want this
Uh-huh.
feature, which is there are these kind of like brick kilns filled with fire, and underneath each
Yes.
one, there's like a long sliding tray that comes out, and on
Marble
top,
slab.
marble slab on wheels, and on top of
Uh-huh.
each one is a nude woman writhing on her back, but she's covered in a
In a
sheet, like a very fine silk or linen sheet.
Just doing like
She's doing boob
mid-center
lifts.
undulations.
Yeah, tit lifts. Yeah.
Tit lifts. Excuse me, could you point the way to the tit lift?
Yeah, it's a yoga pose, the tit lift.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But they go, and they just kind of fade away. And Kirsty, as this is not her first rodeo in hell, she's like, oh, you know what? They seem fine.
Yeah.
She is nonplussed.
She at one point in time grabs one of the sheets to pull it off to see the woman below. But as she pulls the sheet away, it is empty. There is no woman there at all.
Yeah. She's like, you know what? I've seen other shit that is way more life threatening. I'm going to go explore it. Now, this is kind of interesting. So she finds like an evil queen boudoir makeup. And
Uh-huh.
there's even like a picture. Is it a picture? It's a
Of
picture of Frank,
Frank.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So this seems to be Julia's lair,
Yeah.
which I love. This is like, again, if we're going to do like a Disney evil queen set piece, this is pretty fucking dope. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to be stuck in hell and you want to be the Baroness Queen of Hell, this seems like the spot to be
Uh-huh.
Julia, which snaps at the evil queen Julia.
Well, this is where she realizes that again, just like in the first movie, what she thought was her father was
Mm-hmm.
actually Frank. And so the person who had come to her earlier that she thought was her father saying, "I'm in hell, help me," was
Yeah.
actually Frank. And Frank tells her again, these naked women under the sheets reemerge, sliding back and forth, but now the
Mm-hmm.
sheets are all blood covered. But he's like, "This is my torture because they're not real. Like I
Yeah.
can't see them or touch
So I'm
them."
like, essentially blue balled for all eternity. They're like, we're just going to put porn in front of your face for
Hmm.
all of eternity, but you can't touch them.
Yep.
I don't remember this from Dante's Inferno, this
No.
particular level, but it checks out.
Yeah.
Tantalus myth here.
He says a line to her that is so good but so disgusting. He says, because he's such a
Schmarmy,
perv. Yeah,
schmarmy.
smarmy and pervy, and he just wants to fuck Kirsty is what he wants. Like
Yeah,
he's dying to get laid, but he
yeah.
tells Kirsty, "You're so luscious in your pain. Listen, if any of the people you know are going through some shit, don't say that to them."
No, is that not the appropriate
I'm
response?
I will advise against it. I will
They're
never
like,
tell you not to do something, but let's
you are
say
so
advise against
luscious
in
in
your
your
pain.
pain. Again, what?
Is your
What?
girlfriend crying because her parents just died? Just
I
tell
know.
her. But
Listen, I know
you're
you're
very
going through it.
horny.
Yeah.
Try this line. Okay. She then kind of plays like, okay, fine, I'll do anything you want.
Whatever
Just
you want.
don't hurt me. But she grabs one of the sheets.
I love this. This is so ridiculous.
It's so like, how does she know this was going to happen, or did she not? She grabs a sheet,
Yeah.
throws it onto a candle. It explodes.
It goes up like a Christmas tree fire in a mobile home.
Unbelievable.
Everything catches fire in this marble slab world. Fire shooting out. Now all the bodies are on the bodies on fire. Everything fire just from this one sheet. But I think she's like it's a bit of the Wicked Witch of the West kind of thing where she's like, aha, I found your weakness. Your weakness is fire.
Yeah.
Your house is now crumbling. Frank.
Yeah. And so
Frank starts tearing off his own skin
yep.
for unknown reasons.
Yeah, I don't know. And then Julia shows up with Tiffany, and Frank is like, "I knew you'd come back, Julia. You always keep your promises." She's like, "Oh, I sure do.
Oh,
Come here,
you?
Frank." And
Yeah.
she rips his fucking heart out through his back.
Yes.
Like, nothing
Because,
personal, babe.
yeah, which is a throwback line to the first movie when he like double crosses her.
Uh-huh.
I love it. Literally rips his heart out.
I do like a movie that has a truly evil villain who we don't like because she's after our
Our protagonist.
protagonist, but
Yeah.
also that we're cheering for because we know she has villains of her own that are
Yeah.
even worse
Yeah.
in many ways. So I found myself rooting for Julia a lot in this movie. Okay,
And
now,
Julia, this is when
oh,
Julia sees, she's like, oh, that girl Tiffany, she's got the box.
yes.
We got to get the box.
But the girls go running, though they lose track of
They
they
lose
drop
the
the
box. You
box.
know, that one thing that you need to get out of hell. What pocket did I put that in?
Unbelievable. Like,
Oh, there's also this is a bit of a callback, but there's a funny cut this. Sorry, cut that
oh
out.
yeah. Okay. Nope, skipping. Dropping
skipping
that
it.
point.
Skip
Okay,
that.
great.
Nothing there.
Okay, so the girls go running. Julia sees that they dropped the box, catches up, picks up the box, goes after them. But there's a moment where in the labyrinth, like a wall bursts open and creates like not a
Wind
vortex, but
tunnel,
like a wind
vortex.
tunnel that
Yeah.
sucks you out into the abyss. And Tiffany's just barely holding on.
Yeah.
Kirsty's like, give me your hand, give me, this whole classic ordeal. Julia shows up. A brief wrestling thing. Julia almost goes flying out. She's also hanging on for dear
Yeah.
life.
She's got the box.
She's
She's
got the
sort of
box.
climbing like wall to wall, which also it makes very little physical sense. But
No.
whatever.
So just in time. So Tiffany actually, like, in a moment of like, listen, I care for all people, reaches
Yeah.
for Julia's hand.
Uh-huh.
Kirsty grabs Tiffany's hand. They're all getting pulled up, but Julia's stitches break.
Oh my God. You just see like the back seam of her skin just start to split. And then her body flies off. And what is left but just a pile of skin in a dress with nails.
With Lee press-on nails.
Lee press-on nails.
Attached to essentially just a rubber hose.
I was gagged. I was
Floored.
shook. I was gagged. I was floored. Not what I expected.
Mm-mm.
I think not what either of these ladies that survived expected. Certainly not what Julia expected.
Did you ever see the Hudsucker Proxy, Coen Brothers movie with Tim Robbins and Paul Newman? Paul Newman at one point in time almost flies out the window, and Tim Robbins' character saves him by his pant legs.
Yes.
And you see the stitches start to tear, and he has a flashback to telling the tailor, no, I'm not going to pay more money for you to double stitch this. Single stitch is fine. It's you got to pay for the double stitching.
You gotta, like you killed 8, but here's the thing: she killed 8 bodies for that skin. You think she got quality work?
Yeah. And when you invest there's nothing wrong with getting a luxury product, but the more luxury a product is, the more you're going to have to take care of it. You want a Lamborghini? You're gonna need to protect that Lamborghini. You're invest in a garage.
A Rolex, it's going to cost Rolex price dollars to have that shit,
taken
cleaned
care
and
of,
recalibrated every year.
And you can't play rough with it. She tried to play too rough with her fancy skins.
Nope, you lose your skin that way.
Okay,
and the girls are like, "Oof, that was close."
We can process this later as
I know,
as trauma. Yeah,
let's just keep on running willy-nilly.
Dr. Chenard now has emerged from the transformation elevator saying, and to think I hesitated.
I love this. This goes into like what we're going to find out in the ending with the Cenobites of like, once you get a taste of one, it's a very particular kind of person, just goes out in search of these Cenobite boxes anyway. So you're kind of already down the path. But then once you get sucked into hell, you like immediately fall for the pleasure pain complex.
Yeah.
You're full in. And I think it's because the idea is that the pain is so overwhelming, the visual of it, they look deep, the Leviathan looks deep into your soul and figures out exactly what like makes your pain center tick, your pleasure center tick, and then does that in such a gloopy gloppy way that you just forget all sense of time.
I can't remember if I mentioned this in when we did Hellraiser, the first movie episode or not, but it was something I thought about in watching that movie and this one. I don't think these movies do a great job of showing the pleasure side of
Yes, I
and
remember you talking about this. Yeah.
And I think some of that has to do with the fact that we can show extreme gory violence like in this movie and get an R rating.
Yeah.
But to show in graphic detail sexual pleasure or even substantive pleasure like doing drugs. Like
never mind, like, I don't know, joy, like running through a field of flowers. Fuck that.
But I think they're like going after like bodily sensual pain and pleasure, right? So that
We
it's not about emotional
Yeah,
pain or emotional joy. It's
it's about
about the ways in which you can titillate your body in
yeah.
extreme ways. And I think that they can't show people touching themselves or each other in extreme, because
Yeah. Well, we get this.
sexuality is the
We
number
we
one
get
way.
we get a like cutaway scene. Like when, I think it's like Tiffany's going on her Carnival of Horrors journey,
Hmm.
and Julia's leading untainted Dr. Chenard through her little Meow Wolf labyrinth.
Uh-huh.
And there's like a hot tub threesome
Yes.
going on. And there's a
Yeah.
woman, like kind of flipping her hair back and forth, and she's like some random brunette, and then she turns away, and then it becomes Julia's face. So there
Hmm.
is some nod to sexual, sensual
Yeah.
pleasure in this world of hell, even though, like, I think all those people are connected to chains or there's some
Yeah.
like aspect of that, but
Yeah.
they at least try in this movie.
Yeah. They kind of hint at it, but they know they can't show
Yeah.
the extremes of sensual pleasure the way that you can
Yes.
show extremes of sensual pain. Well, he's off to do his killing or whatever.
He emerges as Miley Cyrus on a fucking wrecking ball.
Hmm. They find themselves, Kirsty and Tiffany find themselves back in the hospital, but they know, again, this is like hellscape land,
Yeah.
sort of.
I
But
kind of, no, I like, because
mhm,
it all happens too quick and too easy.
yeah,
Like that's the Nightmare on Elm Street gambit of like, oh, this looks like my bedroom. Surely I'm done now.
hmm,
But I kind of like this as a little bit different, because it then kind of shows like a wide shot of the Chenard Institute, and there's like evil, spooky, dark clouds, and the sort of Leviathan diamond labyrinth thing, or the Leviathan diamond shard is like
uh-huh,
barely visible. So it's like they are back in the quote real world, but the portal, it's like the whole world is being infected with hell.
yeah,
As opposed to like, we've built this set piece inside of hell that looks like your space. This is now like, no, you're in the real world, but hell is here as well, which I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. And all of the patients in the, so there's like, this is on the normal psych ward
Mm-hmm.
level, which is where it's just patients in like an
Yeah.
open room, rows of beds, and these people are all working on puzzle boxes.
They've all been given puzzle boxes that all like just have like chains connected to their face,
Uh-huh.
going, it hurts, but I have to keep solving the puzzle.
So now the Cenobite Dr. Chenard shows up and says, "The doctor is in."
Too many one-liners from this gentleman.
Folks, we have a catchphrase. He's a
Oh my
jig.
God.
This is a very jigsaw looking motherfucker. He is.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
oh, and this
Like
is where Tiffany says, "Oh shit."
yeah, she just goes, shit. Like,
That's
really?
very
You
funny.
have one line in the entire movie?
She's
This is the, like, they're giving him lines like, the doctor's in. I recommend we amputate.
yeah, she says shit and mommy. Those are her
Yeah,
two
that's
words that she says.
how I got my SAG card.
So he holds his hand up and
I,
snakes come out of it, which have eyeballs in their mouth, and then
and
blades shoot out of the
scalpels,
eyeballs,
and
scalpels.
he can like shoot them like porcupines, but he can also move them like tentacle. Listen, he's not been in hell very long, but clearly Leviathan saw a lot of potential in him.
Hmm. He grinds up some poor patient's face and chops his
Uh-huh.
hand off and
Just
just all
throws it.
kinds of
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Just,
Kirsty and Tiffany run away because the theme of this movie, anytime there's any kind of danger,
uh-huh.
is the antagonist always gets distracted and the girls can free themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Kirsty and Tiffany find their way into the chain room, which is the
Yeah.
room with dangly chains, and this is where the Cenobites hang out. So Pinhead and pals are all there. And Says, no, time to, it's time to play. No more teasing, no more deals,
Yeah.
Kirsty. It's your flesh we want, not your skills at bargaining. And she's like, but wait, just one thing. It's not a bargain. It's just a thing. And she gives him a photograph of himself that she took from Dr. Chenard's scrapbook
And
and
he's like,
says,
what is
remember?
this?
Yeah.
This
He's
some
like, this isn't me. And she's like,
who
it
is this
is.
person? That's
Remember,
you.
you were all of you were human once. Remember all your confusion. Remember what happened to you. Remember that you were a person, a human being. And then Pinhead remembers, and they all look sad. And Dr. Chenard shows up and kills them all with his snake
And
hands.
Cenobite fight. Cenobite fight. This is where it's like, how are they against each? Aren't y'all serving the same God? No? Okay. It's like a little intern, it's like popes and cardinals power struggle,
Yeah.
like everybody's trying to be pope. So
Uh-huh.
like they're all kind of battling, like the underlings are all trying to battle. But even
Right.
though for a second I was like, aren't you all on the same team? No? Okay. All right, never
No.
mind.
No, it's
But the doctor's shooting tentacles. And this is kind of cool. So it's like, you know, Chatterteeth goes down. He gets nailed to a wall.
uh
Lady Tracheotomy, she goes down.
yeah.
Like sunglasses guy goes down. And then
And they all
later
kind of turn into their human forms
you
as
see
they're
them in their
dying.
human forms, which I think is so great.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is like, Dr. Chenard is sort of shooting dildos at Pinhead, and every electric dildo he shoots at him, like a little bit of his Pinhead makeup comes off and a little bit comes off, and like the things until he's back to being human.
Yeah.
And he has this moment of connection with Kirsty that's like the useful death nod of
Yep.
like, I'm gonna, I guess, distract Dr. Dildo over here.
Paging
Thank
Dr.
you for
Dildo.
reminding me that paging Dr. Dildo. I'll distract him. Thank you
Uh-huh.
for reminding me who I used to be. And I thought this was going to be like a much more like battle royale. Nope. Dr.
No.
Dildo just like slits his throat, dead.
Yeah.
Pinhead goes down like glass jaw.
Yeah. I haven't seen any other Hellraiser movies. I guess we were done with Pinhead, or you could bring him back, I guess is the whole point, right? Like Pinhead is
Listen,
like the face of the franchise, though.
and I think there this because you get this impression that Dr. Chenard now becomes the big bad, right?
Yeah.
However, I think the by this point in the franchise, it had kind of Pinhead had become kind of in the echelon of Freddy, Jason,
Yeah.
Mike Meyer. Like Finn had become that sort of level of like people were like, oh my God, I recognize this villain. And so in later movies, Pinhead sort of takes up that mantle of eternal big bad for this franchise.
Yeah. Okay, so Tiffany and Kirsty run for it. They get back to the hospital again, Dr. Chenard gets distracted by fighting other things, so they're
Yeah.
able to slip away. They get back into the hospital. I love this scene because they're running through the hospital, and you just see all of those beds where people were doing puzzle boxes are now just covered in splattered blood,
Yep.
and people are like running through the halls, chasing each other with a hatchet. It's a very funny, brief moment of what
Yeah.
chaos is going down here.
Yeah. Like snake pit style bedlam.
Tiffany says, but we can't just come back here. We have to get the box. I have to
Good
go
point,
get that
Tiffany.
box. And oh yeah, she is talking, right? Because Tiffany says all this.
She's
Yeah, she's
semi-verbal
talking.
now. Yeah,
I
she has a
forgot
few lines.
she starts talking again. So they both run back, find the pointy box thing where they left it next to Julia's crumpled ass skin.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then they walk out onto MC Escher World.
Mm-hmm.
She of course gets hit by these black beams and has flashbacks to Dr. Chenard doing surgery, her mom being grabbed by a black glove, something, something. But Dr. Chenard, as she's trying to solve the puzzle, shows up. Again, good one-liner. He says, "You have your whole lives behind you
I
now."
love it.
It's a good line. And then he's bringing a drill right at Tiffany's face. But then Julia, of
Oh,
all people, Cecil, Julia,
Julia shows up in
looking a
the
little
Cenobite
rough, a
elevator.
little
Yeah,
bleedy,
like a
but
little circles under the eyes,
mhm.
but she's there. And we know that, Dr. Chenard loves being distracted by kissing on Julia.
So he says, I knew you'd come back. Just the same thing Frank said to Julia
Yeah,
earlier. She leans in and starts to kiss him. Tiffany grabs the puzzle, solves it in like 4 steps.
I know. Yeah, listen, she's the dream warrior. Like she's the dream master, the dream warrior of this movie. And
Uh-huh.
her except it's not dreams, it's puzzles.
Yeah.
Really pretty. She's like, "Bup, bup, bup, done it."
She's like one of those speed Rubik's Cube
Yeah,
solvers on
exactly.
TikTok. Yep. So he realizes oh shit, I've just been had. And he tries to move to attack her, but like nothing is working. Like his
Yeah,
snake hands are stuck in the whatever.
yeah.
And
And
then
then,
the tentacle beast that has his head is like, oh,
uh-huh,
never mind. I'll just rip your head off at the jaw.
uh-huh. What?
We're like, well, we're done here. You obviously, well, I guess he failed Leviathan.
Yes. Yeah,
And so it's like, no, well, you obviously were not right for the job. So
yeah.
you have been terminated. You have 10 minutes to exit the building. Security will escort you out.
Beheaded.
Mm-hmm. Tiffany almost falls and again is like hanging on for dear life. And it's Julia who leans over to give her her hand and says, trust me.
Oh, you're like, Julia's kind of a bad bitch. But you
Yeah.
know
And
what? Maybe you tried to save my life earlier. I'm going to try to save your life now. So it seems plausible.
I agree. I thought that was a really noble sell by the script
Yeah.
writers here to
Yeah.
be like, yeah, Tiffany shows that she's a good person by
Yep.
helping Julia earlier, so Julia would help her here. I mean, I already knew what was happening. Like I called this the moment
Oh,
Julia
did you?
showed
Yeah.
up, but I it's a good idea. I love it. I'm not mad about it. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything wrong in having your thing be predicted. I just think it's delightful that her skin starts to peel off
I know that
and
arm
that
starts to
arm
come up.
sliding.
Like what would that be? Your arm stocking?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh no, your arm. And I love how like we've established this, like whenever anything falls below this MC Escher world, it just sort of like just it explodes into lightning.
Uh-huh. But when we get all the way pulled up, her skin is fully peeling off, and then Julia peels off the rest of her skin to reveal it was Kirsty in a Julia suit.
Oh my lord.
This is some Scooby-Doo shit right here.
I know, right? She's like, you know what I'm gonna do? Okay, we need time for Tiffany to solve this puzzle box. So I'm gonna run back through the impossible labyrinth,
Mm-hmm.
put on my stepmother's skin suit, come back, and distract Dr. Dildo Blue Doctor with a kiss.
I was not
Plan
anticipating to hear the
worked.
phrase Dr. Dildo Blue Doctor.
Plan worked perfectly.
So now we got to run because
Yeah.
the puzzle got solved. The gate
Puzzle
is
solved.
closing. The
Yeah.
giant puzzle box in the sky is starting to shoot lasers at them. They've got to run
Yep.
down the hall. They dive in just as the hospital wall closes shut. They did it! Hooray!
They made it.
Now in the epilogue of this film, we see wreaths on every single psych ward
I
bed.
know.
Cecil,
Who put those there?
and
What happened?
also what is this hospital still open? Please tell me it's not.
Who inspected? Again, I want to see the paperwork. Once the horror movie ends, I want to see the paperwork on like, has anybody checked in on the Chenard Institute in which 97 people just liquefied throughout the building?
Yeah, I want to see the news coverage. I want to
Yeah.
see the investigation.
What
Why
is
was there an investigator in the opening scene? This is where I want to see the police pick up.
Yep.
So then Kirsty and Tiffany are in trance together at a topiary garden?
No.
Okay.
We've seen that there's a topiary labyrinth-like exterior to the Chenard Institute. We've
Oh,
seen
okay. I
this.
missed that
We
establishing
have seen
shot.
this.
Okay, great.
Yeah. But it again sort of echoing the labyrinthine
I was like, is this last year
nature.
at Marienbad? What the fuck am I
It's
watching?
right. It's this Marie Antoinette. What's going on? No, but it's very silly. But they've been listen, their closing makeover. They are 80s hot. Like
Yes.
both of them. So
Mhm.
good. We get a little like, whoo, we made it through. Our hair is done. Our makeup is tight. Our boots are tight. They just sort of they just walk out,
Uh-huh.
apparently.
And we're good. We are good. We survived it all. But now we have movers at Dr. Chenard's house.
Oh my God. And everything is all boxed up. It's like the little moving company has boxed up the living room. And then we see that, which I love is again a shout out to like the first movie, in which like the movers in the first movie were the first ones that like cut their hand on a nail.
That's
And
right.
that first drop of blood is kind of what the house to begin with. So it's like, I
Uh-huh.
love again a little throwback. But this mover who walks into the office and sees the Casper mattress soaked with blood and chains. If I worked for a moving company,
Uh-huh.
I'd be like, am I expect is
No,
what this is not, I'm not touching that thing.
and what does the Chicago London PD do when they find that this renowned doctor has
Yeah.
gone missing
Missing.
completely? Enough
Everyone
to
is,
where and there's a bloody torture mattress in his office?
we're
That's
just not,
evidence, my friend.
no, we're
You
not going to connect any. No. Okay.
no.
Also, where are they moving it to? They're moving it to, you know, the police. Who
I don't
knows?
know. Or
They're
like
having an estate sale.
that's what I thought, estate sale, but usually people come to the house to buy the things. Is it like a family member? Like I would like all of these.
Yes.
So many questions that will never be answered, but
But that mover goes to
he's
inspect
got a
the
popped
mattress.
collar on his
Yes.
coverall, Cecil. He has
It's the
popped
80s.
the collar
It's the 80s.
and he's like, "Hey, take a look at this," in a classic London accent.
Yes. Hey, yo.
Hey, hey,
Yo.
Richie, come take a look at this.
Forget about
Forget
it.
about it. Anyways, Richie comes in, or whatever the dude's name is, and finds that that man has been fully pulled into this mattress with only
So like,
his
oh,
legs
his
sticking out from
legs
the
are
shins down.
sticking out. I love it. That seems unusual.
But what's more unusual is that a block comes out of the mattress covered in faces and
Uh-huh. The
the
baby,
baby sewing its mouth shut and weird spooky carnival shit.
skeletons.
It's spinning in a circle.
I love a torture obelisk.
Torture obelisk. Amen. And the last shot is just the face of Jesus on the side of this thing.
Yeah.
Says, "What's your pleasure, sir?" The end.
Or is it?
Please, please, it
Please.
is.
No.
Please let it be.
Period. The end.
The last note I wrote is, "What the shit?" Shall we rate this movie?
Yes, let's.
How approachable is this movie? If you're a horror film averse, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not approachable, 10 being very approachable, I'll give Hellbound Hellraiser 2 1 torture mattress out of 10. It is,
Ooh.
listen, this movie is the gloopy, gloppy, gory, bloody, jumpy, scary. I don't know. It's just got everything. It's all kinds of body horror, medical.
Self-harm.
Self-harm, absolutely.
Puzzle grooming.
Hustle
grooming.
grooming, just the most horrible depiction of people dealing with mental health issues. It's also just like the most bonkers 80s horror splattery film you've ever seen. I don't know, there's a real Beetlejuice air to it, like you said earlier, but it's so grotesque, this movie. So yeah, unless you're just really like, should I watch this movie, and I love horror movies, there's no reason to go watch this. Don't start here. Cecil, as a horror film, to speak nothing of approachability, how do you rate this film?
Here's the thing, as a horror movie sequel, I think this one's pretty damn good.
It's true. We got to this by sequels, prequels, and remakes, and this is a pretty good sequel.
I gotta say, like, the production quality pretty fucking high. Like
Hmm.
they definitely do that 80s thing where they're like, we're gonna take the first one, but we're gonna put even more. And you know what? I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
would say like 7 out of 10 fetus fetuses with the mouth
Uh huh.
stitching their own mouth shut.
Uh huh.
Yeah, pretty high up there. Like this is a pretty solid sequel.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's figure out what movie we're gonna watch next. You have a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll those dice up and see what movie matches those two things. So on your scare die, Cecil, if you roll a 1, our next movie scare has to be isolation. 2, planes, trains, and automobiles. 3, ghost. 4, bad mom or bad dad. 5, cult. 6, aliens. What's our scare, Cecil?
That's a 3.
We got
Again,
right to that ghost.
I swear my die are not loaded. My die is not loaded.
All right, so we're gonna match up your ghost with the style I roll, and if I roll a 1, our movie has to be from the Southern Hemisphere. 2, a splatter film. 3, wild card, whatever ghost movie we want. 4, a cult film, meaning a cult following. 5, something from the 1970s, or 6, an urban setting. So here we go. What's our roll? I got a 5. 1970s ghost movie.
Ooh.
Okay, so we have a list of a couple ideas that we had that would match this possible pairing, but also we've got a Letterboxd account, Random Horror 9 over on Letterboxd. And if you go there, we have a collection of lists that you can look through that have all of the possible matchups, and uh you feel free to contribute to that movie selection process. So why don't I go through, let's talk about the ones we put on here and then we'll go through Letterboxd. What do you say, Cecil?
Sounds great.
All right, so I put on here 2 movies from 1970s. The Amityville Horror, pretty straight
Classic.
up classic. Ghost and demon, kind of the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
And then also there's Legend of Hell House, not to be confused with Hell House LLC, but Legend of Hell House is a mid 70s movie. Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah. Mid 70s, Roddy McDowell. I mean, this looks very, we're sent to the legendary Hell House. Can you survive a night in the Hell House?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Pretty classic.
Yeah, pretty standard classic stuff. All right, so I have those two. I think you put these other 2 movies on here.
I put 2 more on there.
Uh-huh.
These are movies that I've not seen, so haven't seen them, but they did kind of come up on my 1970s ghost movie. One is called Audrey Rose, and
Okay.
this is a later 70s film. Husband and wife live in a really happy life in New York. They send their daughter to a good school, but then Anthony Hopkins, weirdly enough, shows up. Spent some time in India. He believes that Ivy is the reincarnated spirit of his daughter who has died. And
Oh.
then weird ghosty things start happening. So it's kind of like a reincarnation ghost story.
Okay. That's interesting. All right,
There's
I'm
another,
curious about this.
yeah, there's another one that came up that again I've not seen. This one is it's actually a TV movie from the 70s. Let's see. Working on a revolutionary project, a man and his former girlfriend encounter a ghost. So that's the plot synopsis.
This is The
People
Stone
encounter a
Tape.
ghost.
Is that the
The
name of this
Stone
movie?
Tape. Oh, did I not
Okay.
say this? The name? Yeah, the name is the Stone Tape.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I think it's like more ghost hunters encounter a ghost
Okay.
kind of vibes.
Interesting. All right, so let's see what our letterboxed folks have to say. Squin, right off the top, gives us Tales from the Crypt, 1972.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love a horror anthology.
Katie's throws out Don't Look Now.
I know. I can't believe we didn't think about this one because it's like kind of a ghost.
Yeah.
It's like the couple is definitely haunted. Yeah, and Katie has a really good, like, it definitely has a medium talking with ghosts.
Yeah. Do you know this one? Weaponized Toaster throws out Ruby from 1977.
No, I've never
Do you
heard of
know
this one,
Ruby at
but it has
all?
Piper Laurie in it.
What?
Let's see. Lady with a shady past, Piper Laurie, is a single mother of a teenager who's deaf and mute, and Ruby operates a drive-in movie theater and discovers that the spirit of her dead mobster husband
Whoa.
has possessed Leslie and is seeking revenge.
What the hell? Okay. All right. I'm curious about this. Let's see if this is available. Oh, I just pulled this up on Just Watch. I know this. I've seen this movie poster before. It's really, really cool. Piper, I'm into a Piper Laurie movie.
Yeah, for sure.
This looks really interesting. We've also got Cronenberg TA throws out Shock, also from 1977. Couple is terrorized in their new house, haunted by the vengeful ghost of the woman's former husband, who possesses their young son. Anyways, it looks like a Mario Bava movie.
It's a Mario Bava film. This one has kind of limited streaming
Okay.
capabilities at the moment, though. Very limited. Still possible, but limited.
I'm looking further down this list. Milu Hu throws out House Zoo, which we have covered.
Yes.
So Milu Hu and anyone else who wants to hear us talk about the movie House, the Japanese film, Bonkers movie, yeah, go check out that earlier episode. Also, Mother Fox throws out the Sentinel. Mother Fox, good news, we have already covered the Sentinel, and it is fantastic.
Love it.
What else do we have on here? What else do people throw out?
Let's see. King and Commoner threw out the Stone Tape.
Okay.
Think it's
Oh, that's
similar.
the one you
Thank you, King
suggested.
and
Yep.
Commoner. And Ganymede's Cup throws out Blacker Than Night, 1975, a Mexican supernatural horror film. When
Huh.
four women move into an old house left by one woman's aunt, strange things begin to happen. Bizarre voices, visions of ghosts, mysterious noises lead them to discover the darkest powers of evil and horror and agony beyond terror. God, what a tagline. I love it.
Wow. Well,
Which kind of
Blacker
sounds
Than
like
Night certainly wins Best Poster, according to Just Watch when I pulled it up. That is a tattoo I would like to have. That is a dope ass poster.
oh, that is pretty dope. That looks amazing. Like
Okay.
Blacker Than Night, it looks like a variation on the Legend of Hell House. Like group of people spend the night in a haunted house.
Uh-huh.
Maybe? Question
Yeah.
mark?
Okay, so let me ask you, see, so what's standing out to you? Like what really was floating your boat, ringing your bell, soaking your mattress?
What's soaking my mattress?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's been like 20 years since I've seen the original Amityville horror.
Uh-huh.
I know it has kind of like cult movie status, but it's been a while. And also, like, I don't know. I can't believe we haven't gotten to it on this podcast.
Yeah.
The Legend
That
of
and
Hell
Legend
House,
of Hell House seem like the two like kind of classic horror 101 sort of
70s. Yeah.
powerhouse
Solid
movies.
70s.
I
I
will
don't know.
throw
There's
in
something about,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Audrey Rose sounds really intriguing
Mm-hmm. I
because
was
it's not, ghosty haunted mansion. It's a little more like interpersonal drama.
yeah.
But
I'm
then
I'm
Blacker
really
Than
interested
Night,
in Blacker Than Night because it's a
Blacker Than
Mexican
Night
horror
looks
film.
kind of amazing.
Yeah. Um yeah, what do we think? Should we be hitting maybe some lesser known, possibly more interesting movies? I don't know. Blacker Than Night could be really interesting. So could Ruby. So could Audrey
Yeah.
Rose. Those all
Yeah.
look incredible. Or should we be hitting kind of the horror movie 101 stuff?
I know, right?
I've never seen Amityville Horror. I read the book.
Okay. Yeah.
I know it's nonfiction, but it's a novel. It is.
Just just so you know.
Just so you know. Um,
It's
it's
also like I remember like seeing it later, like in the 90s when I was watching a lot of horror movies and thinking like this is a classic.
yeah,
Like there are moments of that are like kind of crazy, but I was like this.
yeah,
So maybe it was a generational thing. I don't know. Like
yeah,
I would put The Legend of Hell House over the Amityville horror in my opinion.
yeah,
For me, it's The Legend of Hell House versus Blacker Than Night. Those are the those
yeah.
I
Those
think
are the
those are the two
two.
contenders.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I mean, of the two, I'm so interested in Blacker Than Night just because we don't get to a lot of, foreign films,
Yeah,
non-American
yeah.
films.
Then let's do
Um,
it.
and
Let's do
it's
it,
also on
Jeffrey.
Shudder. It's got a dope ass poster
Yeah.
that makes me want this movie to be good.
It's also
Um,
like ghost movies from the 70s do seem, especially like American ghost movies from the 70s, do seem a little like kind of a cut from the same cloth.
yeah.
So let's go down to Mexico and see if Mexico is doing things a little different.
It's
Get a
also
variation on that.
women centric. I don't know if that's going to be
Yeah,
good or bad for a 1970s film,
I don't know.
but I
But you
think
know the
that's really
hair is going to be
interesting.
amazing.
We do know
The
that for
the
sure.
disco hair is going to be the Studio 54 hair is going to be blown out.
All right, well, fantastic. That, and also want to thank Ganymede's Cup over on Letterboxd for that suggestion. Would have never thought of that. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, or ideas for the movie you would have loved to see for Ghost meets 1970s, let us know on Instagram at let us know on Instagram at Random Horror 9 or on Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not need to be a paying member to participate. And watch what is our movie again?
Blacker than night.
And watch Blacker Than Night with us this week. And come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no glorified psychotherapist trying to put a food processor to your brain or nothing. Boo.
Boo.